it's Pure Yoga with mindful hand weight movements. So I have a 1 kilo in each hand to use. You can choose your weight, whatever you wish to use. If you want to use lighter than this and you've got a 0.5 kilo, feel free to do so. I don't really suggest you go above 3 kilo in yoga, but it's up to you. If you haven't got hand weights, you can always use bean cans or water bottles, but just make sure that you've got the same weight on both sides to make everything equalise. So I say I'm going to use a 1 kilo because I'm actually teaching. My normal practice can be anything from 2 to 3 kilos. So we are going to start in a laid down position. So just bring your hand weights just to the sides of your mat. Bring your feet to the front of the mat. 1 hand weight either side. Bring yourself down onto the floor. Bring your head down onto the mat, your shoulders onto the mat. Widen your feet so they are at the width of the mat and just let them drop out to the sides. Push into the heels. Slowly lift the bum away from the floor. Then tuck the tailbone towards that front of the mat. Bring the back down. Give the hips a little rock from side to side. Give the bum a squeeze and then let that bum release. Have the hands so the palms are facing up and the fingers are gently curled. Maybe have a close of the eyes. Softness through the forehead and the jaw. Maybe take the tongue from the roof of the mouth and let those lips gently part. And just take a few moments here as you've arrived on the mat, getting ready for that practice of mindful movement with hand weights. Have a scan of the body from the top of the head all the way down to the tips of the fingers, tips of the toes, just having a check-in with how your own body personally feels today. Noticing whether you have any back issues, whether you've got any shoulder issues, whether the hips feel tight, whether you've got any knee or elbow issues or any issues around the wrists and the ankles, remembering just to be mindful of those as you move through the practice. If you want to part way through forget the weights, you can do. You can still do this practice without weights. If you want to take a heavier weight at any point, have them available at the side of you. Just work with how your body wants to move today. That may be different today to another day. So maybe another day you feel stronger and you'll probably wish to use a heavier weight. Days you feel weaker, you may wish to use a lighter weight. Take a nice long deep breath in through the nose. And a long sigh out through the mouth. And again, breathe in. And breathe out. Bringing the feet together at the bottom of the mat. Bring the hands up and over the head so we're reaching towards the back of the mat. Then reach with the right hand and the right heel and then slightly contract the left side of the body. And then take it to the other side. So reach with the left fingertips and the left heel and slightly contract the right side of the body. So you should be hiking the hips and the shoulders here. Take it alternate on both sides. Just so you get that little movement through the pelvis, little movement through the shoulders, slight contraction on one side when you're stretching the other. Just notice how it feels as you stretch away the fingertip and the heel on one side, and then notice how it feels when you stretch through the other side. Maybe one side feels a little tighter. Just being mindful and aware of how this feels. Keep breathing, maybe in and out through the nose now if you wish to use that true yogic breathing, the Ujjayi breath, with that slight restriction at the back of the throat. Or use the mouth if you wish, if that doesn't feel comfortable. Take one more on both sides. And then bring that to stillness. Equalize the hips and the shoulders. Bring the hands back up and over. Bring the right knee in towards you. Hold that right knee, squeeze it into the body. Push that left heel away from you to the front of the mat, so a nice straight leg. Left toes back to the shins, right toes back to the shins. And then release that right leg to the floor, bring that left knee in to join the hands and squeeze that left knee in towards the chest. Then release that left leg back down. Bring both feet in towards the bum. Just bring them so your fingertips can almost touch the heels. Take a hold of your weights at the side of the mat and just lay those weights just on the lower belly. Holding them with the hands, maybe interlacing the fingers or just holding over the top. So we're going to go into a few moving bridges, but we've added a little bit of weight onto that pelvis. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Your next breath in, push into the feet. Slowly raise up through that spine, one vertebra at a time. On the inhale, come up to your highest level. And then on your out breath, slowly roll those hips back down to the floor. We're going to do this 4 more times. Your breath in rolls slowly up to lift those hips all the way up to the ceiling. Chest comes to the chin. And on your out breath, we slowly bring that body back down. Try not to let the knees come any further than hip width apart. Next breath in, roll back up again. Bring that body up, lifting those hips towards the ceiling. On the out breath, slowly roll back down. So if you're using 1 kilo weight of both hands, making 2 kilos, you'll roughly be having nearly 5 pounds of extra weight onto that pelvis. And again, roll back down. So we have 1 more of these to do. Really squeezing that bum when you get to the top of the inhale. And then slowly feel each vertebra come back down to the mat on the exhale. So keeping the knees bent, take a hold of the weight in both hands. Let the arms come out wide. So both hands now, palms are facing up, hands at shoulder height. We're going to alternate with each hand as we lift it with a straight arm up to the ceiling. On your breath in, raise your right hand up towards the ceiling. On your out breath, release that right hand back down to the floor with control. On your breath in, raise the left hand up towards the ceiling. On the out breath, release that left hand back down towards the floor. This time on your in breath, push into the feet, roll up through the spine, lifting the hips up to the ceiling. On your out breath, slowly release that bum back towards the floor. On your in-breath, raise the right hand, keep the arm nice and straight. On your out-breath, release that hand back down towards the mat. Take it with slow control. Breath in, raise the left hand, bring it up and above the face. Out-breath, release that left hand back down. Keep the control of that movement. This time on the in-breath, you push into the feet, slowly raise those hips up towards the ceiling. On your out breath, bring those hips back down towards the floor. So 1 more time in each direction. Breath in raises the right hand. Breath out, release that right hand back towards the floor. In breath, raise the left hand. Out breath, release that back towards the floor. In breath, raise the hips. Out breath, release those hips back down towards the floor. This time, both hands raise them up. Breath out, release release them back towards the mat. Keep that control of the movement. 2 more times. In breath, raise those hands. Out breath, release back to the floor. One more time. In breath, raise. Out breath, release. Bring those hands back down by the sides of the body, just placing those weights at the side of the hips. Bring both knees into the chest. Rock up and down that spine a couple of times. Once to seated, back down. Twice to seated, back down. And this time, making your way up to seated, bringing the weights to the front of the mat, swinging the legs around to the back or tucking the feet under the bum. Bringing the knees underneath the hips, heel of the hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to take a few rounds of cat-cow just to massage out through that spine and the muscles. Breath in, raise the head, raise the bum, drop the belly. Breath out, fold everything back in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. Breath in, raise the head, raise the bum, drop the belly. Breath out, fold everything in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. One more time, breath in, lift the head, lift the bum, drop the belly. Breath out, fold everything in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. Come back to a neutral tabletop position. Take a hold of the weight in the right hand. Raise that weight up in front of you so the bicep comes by the side of the ear. Send the left foot to the back of the mat, either keeping the toes on the floor or raising those toes away from the mat so that foot comes up to hip height. Hold it in the balance for a few breaths. Left toes back towards the shins. Keep raising that right hand up so the biceps by the ear. Try to draw that belly in so it's not collapsing towards the floor. Take a breath out, bring the elbow to knee and squeeze. Take a breath in, push that left heel away, reach back forward with that right hand. On your out breath, come back in, roll up like a ball. On your in breath, reach back out, bicep by the side of the ear. One more time, roll back in. And then send that arm out long, left foot back. Hold it there for a breath. Then release that weight to the floor, hand back underneath the shoulder, left knee back to the mat. Just rock those hips a little from side to side. And then bring them back to neutral. Take a round of cat-cow. Breath in, lifts the head, lifts the bum, drops the belly. Breath out, we fold everything back in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. Come back to a neutral space. This time take a hold of the left weight. Reach the left arm forward, bicep towards the ear. Step the right toes back. Then if you're happy to lift that right leg away from the floor, try not to sink in the belly in the centre of the body. Holding here just for a couple of breaths. Just try and keep a micro bend in that right arm so we're not locking out that joint. Then on your out breath, bring that left elbow to the right knee and curl it in. Nice and slowly on your in breath, send everything back out long. On your out breath, curl everything back in. On your in breath, reach back out. Push that right heel away, left fingertips to the front. One more rolling in. And one more pushing back out. Hold it there for a breath. Then release that weight to the floor. Left hand comes back to meet the right. Right knee to meet the left. Give those hips a rock from side to side. And then take a round of cat-cow. Breath in, lifts at the head, lifts at the bum, drops the belly. Breath out, fold everything back in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. And again, lift the head, Lift the bum, drop the belly. Fold everything back in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. Come back to a neutral space. Take a hold of that weight again in the right hand. Raise that right hand up and out to the side. Twist and turn the chest to the right. Then thread that right hand in between the left, bringing the right ear to the mat. And then when you've found a comfortable place here, take a hold of the weight in the left hand. Push into that right forearm as you raise that left hand with the weight in it up towards the ceiling, turning the chest to the left. If this isn't comfortable to do so, keep that left hand down and just use that bicep muscle just to lift and lower with that right hand with the weight inside it. So whichever works for you. That rotation of the chest, if the neck is comfortable with that left hand lifted, reaching it up towards the ceiling. Then bringing that left weight down if it's lifted into the right hand. Bring the left hand by the side of the face. Reach up and out, back and twist to the right side, lifting the weight up in that right hand to the ceiling. Bring it back down, release the right weight to the floor, bring the right hand to meet the left. Take a hold of the weight in the left hand. Breathe in, lift up that weight up to the ceiling, twist and turn. Breathe out, thread that left hand in between the right arm and the right knee, bringing that left ear to the mat. Either stay here and do bicep curls with that left hand, or take a hold of the weight in the right hand, keep pushing into that left forearm. As you raise that weight up to the ceiling, turn and twist the body to the right. The weight is in the right hand now, up to the ceiling. Hold it here just for a couple of breaths. And then release slowly with that right hand, place the weight back in the left. Right hand comes by the side of the face. Breath in, raise that left hand up to the ceiling, turn and twist that body. And then bring that left right hand back down, weight to the side of the mat. Take a rock of the hips from side to side. And then take a few movements of cat-cow. Breath in, lift the head, lift the bum, drop the belly. Breath out, fold everything in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks. One more round of cat-cow. Head lifts, bum lifts, belly drops. Breath out, fold everything back in. Come back to a neutral space. Step both feet back into a plank position. We're just going to hold it in plank for a few breaths. Bend those elbows. If you need to drop the knees, don't move the feet, just bring the knees to the floor. Keep pushing into those hands, chest cavity into the back of the body. If those knees are lifted, squeeze those heels back, draw the belly back towards the spine, squeeze the bum cheeks, holding just for another breath. Then start to paddle the feet as we lift ourselves up into a downward facing dog. Moving one heel closer to the mat at a time. Keeping some space between the shoulders and the ears. Having a little nod and shake of the head, relax that tension you've maybe built in the neck. Making sure the feet are hip width apart, the hands are shoulder width apart. And then if you're happy to bring those feet to stillness, encouraging the heels towards the floor, lifting up through the tailbone, pushing the chest back towards those thighs. Try not to flare those ribs too much, try and tether them to the hips. Taking a couple of long, deep breaths in our downward facing dog position. We're going to do just a few mini option 1 vinyasas. If you're choosing to do mindful movement and you have your own vinyasa choice, feel free to go. Coming with me, come forward to a plank position. Take a drop down of the knees, untuck the toes. Bring the elbows to graze the ribs as you slowly release down to the floor. Push into the hands and lift up the chest, little baby cobra. Then release that chest back down, tuck under those toes. Bring those chests back towards those thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. We'll take another round of those vinyasas. Come back forward to a plank position. Drop down the knees, turn the creases of the elbows, bring them into the ribs as you release down to the floor. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, little baby cobra, or maybe come a little higher this time. Then release that chest back down, tuck under those toes, bring those chests back towards those thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Coming down onto the knees. Bring your right foot in between the hands. If you need to pad that back knee, maybe use a towel or roll up your mat. Take a hold of the weights, bring the shoulders over the hips. Then bring the arms forward so they're up to shoulder height. Take a breath in, open the arms, bring the arms by the sides of the body. Breath out, draw them back in towards each other. Breath in, open up the arms. Breath out, draw those hands back together. Breath in, open up. Breath out, back together. One more, breath in, open up. Breath out, bring them back together. Release the hands down, weights at the side of the mat. Bring the hand either side of the right foot, tuck the toes under of the back foot. Step the right foot back to plank. Paddle the feet as you start to lift up the hips back to your downward facing dog. Bring those heels to stillness, encourage them towards the mat. Push into the hands, push into the feet, and we'll take that slow option 1 vinyasa again. Come forward to plank. Take a drop down of the knees. Bring the elbows into the ribs and untuck the toes, chest to the floor. Roll up, come into a baby cobra, or if the lower back feels happy to come higher, come a little bit higher. Then release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, bring the chest back to the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips, squeeze those heels back. Have a nod and a shake of the head. Then coming down onto the knees. This time bring your left foot through in between the hands. Untuck the back toes, take a hold of the weights. Bring the shoulders over the hips. Raise the arms to shoulder height. On your in-breath, open the arms. Bring them out wide. On the out-breath, bring them back together. 4 more. In-breath, open up wide. Out-breath, bring them back together. In-breath, open up wide. Out-breath, back together. Last one. In-breath, open up wide. Out-breath, back together. Release the hands down, weights either side of the mat. Place the hands either side of the right foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, step back to plank, and then lift the hips. Take a paddle of the feet as you come to your down dog. Then bring those heels to stillness, and we'll take that slow option 1 vinyasa, coming forward to plank. Dropping down with the knees and untucking the toes, elbows graze the ribs. As you release the chest to the floor, lift up the chest on the inhale to whatever variation of back bend you wish. And then release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes. Bring the chest back towards the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Come back down onto the knees. Bring your right foot through in between the hands. Take a hold of the weights. Shoulders come over the hips. Raise the arms all the way up towards the ceiling. On your out breath, bring them down to shoulder high. In breath, bring them back up towards the ceiling. Arms stay straight. Out breath, back to shoulder high. Taking 5 of these. In breath, back up. Out breath down. In breath back up. Out breath down. In breath back up. Last one down. In breath back up. Out breath, release the hands down. The weight's either side of the mat. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, step back to plank first. Then lift the hips and squeeze those heels back, or paddle if you wish. Maybe that back chain of muscles starting to feel a little bit more flexible. Taking an option 1 vinyasa. Slowly come forward to a plank. Take a drop down of the knees and tuck the toes. Slowly release down to the floor with the chest. Breathe in, lift up, take a back bend of your variation. Release back down, tuck the toes under, bring the chest back to the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Coming back down onto the knees. Bringing this time your left foot through in between the hands. And tuck the back toes, bring the shoulders over the hips, raise the arms up to the ceiling. On your out breath, release them down to shoulder height. In breath, bring them back up. Out breath, bring them back down, shoulder high. In breath, back up. Out breath, back down. In breath, back up. Out breath, back down. In breath, back up. Last one, back down. In breath, back up. And then release the hands down, weights to the side of the mat, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knees, step back to plank, lift the hips, squeeze the heels back. Try and encourage those heels as close towards the floor as you can take them. Nice straight legs unless you need to bend the knees to protect that lower back. Take a slow vinyasa, coming forward to a plank, dropping down with the knees, grazing the ribs with the elbows and untucking the toes. Roll through, come up to lift the chest, making your way back to a downward facing dog. Chest to thighs, push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Coming down onto the knees. This time step your right foot through. Keeping your left hand on the floor, take a hold of the weight in the right hand. As you breathe in, bring that weight to the arm and then send it up to the ceiling. As you breathe out, bring that weight back to the shoulder and back to the floor. Breathe in, weight to the shoulder, then up to the ceiling. Breathe out, weight to the shoulder and back to the floor. 3 more times. In to the shoulder and up to the ceiling. Back to the shoulder, back to the floor. Into the shoulder, up to the ceiling, back to the shoulder, back to the floor. 1 more, into the shoulder, up to the ceiling, back to the shoulder, and back to the floor. Place that weight to the side of the mat, tuck the toes under, lift the back knee, step your right foot back to meet your left, lift the hips and squeeze those heels back. Take a nice long deep breath in and a nod and shake of those heads. Your breath in brings you forward to a plank. We then drop down the knees and tuck the toes, elbows graze the ribs as you release to the floor. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Then make your way back to your down dog, chest to thighs. Pushing into the hands and feet, lifting the hips and squeezing those heels back. Back down onto the knees. Bring your left foot through this time. Keep your right hand on the floor. Take a hold of the weight in your left hand. Breathe in, weight to shoulder, then up to the ceiling. Breathe out, weight to shoulder, back to the floor. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out and lower. 3 more, lift and lower. 2 more, lift and lower. 1 more, lift and lower. Release that weight to the side, tuck the back toes under, lift up the back knee, step back to plank, lift the hips, squeeze the heels back, trying to encourage them to the mat, chest to the thighs, ribs and hips to tether. Come forward to plank, drop down with the knees, untuck the toes, release slowly to the floor. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Release that chest back down, tuck under with the toes. Chest back to the thighs. Lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Little nod and shake of the head. Then coming down onto your knees. Bring your right foot through. Tuck under your back toes and lift your back knee. Take a hold of both weights. Shoulders come over the hips. Reach the arms up to the ceiling. Hold on to both weights, interlace the fingers. Try not to flare the ribs. We're going to do tricep lifts. So that right knee stays bent, the ribs draw back. On your out breath, lower the weights to behind the neck. On the in-breath, lift. 4 more of these. Lower on your out breath. In-breath, lift. 3 more. Lower. Keep that back leg nice and straight, pushing the heel away, front knee bent. And lift. 2 more. Lower. And lift. 1 more. Lower. And lift. Release the hands down. Bring the weights to either side of the mat. Step your right foot back to meet the left. Lift the hips and squeeze those heels back. Come back forward to a plank position. Drop down the knees, untuck the toes, release the chest to the floor. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Then make your way back to down dog, chest to thighs. Push into the hands and feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Coming back onto the knees. This time bring your left foot through. Tuck your back toes under and lift up your back knee. Stabilise into the feet first, grab a hold of the weights. Shoulders come over the hips. Raise the arms up to the ceiling, interlace the fingers. On your out breath, lower the weights to behind the neck, tricep strength. On your in breath, lift, try and draw the ribs and hips together. Out breath, lower. Keep bent into that left knee, straighten the back leg, and lift. Lower on your out breath. Lift on your in breath. 2 more, lower. And lift. 1 more, lower. And lift. Release the hands down. Weights either side of the mat. Step your left foot back into a plank. Then lift the hips. Squeeze the heels back. Have a little release through the neck by nodding and shaking those heads. And then taking A small option 1 vinyasa, coming forward to a plank. Dropping down the knees and tucking the toes, releasing down towards the mat. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Then make your way back to your down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Come down onto the knees. Bring your right foot through, in between the hands. Tuck your back toes under, lift up your back knee. Drop your heel inwards at the back so it comes to the floor. Take a hold of the weights. Bring yourself up, shoulders over the hips. Turn your hips and shoulders now to that left side of the mat. So we have warrior, 2 legs. Bring the arms in front of you. We're going to do some bicep curls here with warrior 2 legs, strengthening through those thighs. Breathe in and bring those weights to the shoulders. Breathe out, just bring them to a 90-degree angle. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out, back to the 90-degree. 3 more. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, back to 90-degree. In, lift. Back to 90-degree. 1 more. Breathe in, lift. Back to 90-degree. Bring the hands then by the sides of the legs. Reach the arms up to shoulder height, palms face down. Then just make circles with those arms in one direction, keeping the arms straight. Try to keep the torso nice and strong so it's not rocking too much forwards and backwards. We take the movement in the arms rather than in that torso. Take them into the opposite direction. And then take them into a hold just for a breath. Then bring those hands down. Release them to either side of the mat. Step your right foot back to meet your left. Lift up the hips. Squeeze the heels back. Nod and shake of that head. Come back to a plank position. Drop down the knees. Untuck the toes, release the chest down towards the floor. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Make your way back to your down dog. Chest to thighs. Pushing into the hands and feet, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Have a little nod and shake of the head again. Come down onto your knees. Bring your left foot through. Tuck your back toes under, lift up your back knee. Drop that heel of the right down to the floor. Take a hold of the weights. Bring the shoulders over the hips, then turn those shoulders towards the right side of the mat. Keep bending your left knee, straighten your right. Bring the arms in front of you, palms facing forward. Breath in, bring those weights up to the shoulders. Breath out, bring them back to a 90-degree. In, breath, lift. Out, breath, lower. In, breath, lift. Out, breath, lower. 2 more. In, breath, lift. Out, breath, lower. 1 more. In, breath, lift. Out, breath, lower. And bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Then reach them up to shoulder height. Make circles in one direction. Try to keep the torso nice and still. Make the circles with the arms rather than the body. And then take it to the opposite way. Try and feel that strength through those deltoid muscles in the shoulders, those triceps, those biceps. Bring them to stillness just for a breath. And then bring those hands down, weights to the side of the mat, hands either side of the left foot, step back to a plank. Lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Then a vinyasa, coming forward to a plank. Keeping it nice and easy. Option 1, knees to the floor, elbows graze the ribs. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Make your way back to down dog. Lifting those hips, squeezing those heels back. And then making your way into a seated position. Swinging the legs around to the front of the mat. Bums into the centre. So we're going to take a hold of the weights in both hands. We're going to bring the toes back to the shins, have nice straight backs. Bring the arms to cactus arms. So again, try not to flare the ribs. Elbows in line with the shoulders. Breath in, raise those weights up together to the top. Breath out, bring those elbows back to 90 degrees. Breath in, raise. Breath out, lower. We're going to do 10 of these. Breath in, raise those hands, keep the backs nice and straight. Breath out, lower. That's 3. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 4. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 5. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 6. Breath in, lift. Try not to let that lower back curl. Breath out, lower. That's 7. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 8. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 9. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. That's 10. Bring those hands down by the sides of the body. Your next breath in, raise them up to shoulder height. Hold them here for a breath. Your next breath in, raise that right hand up to the ceiling. Breath out and lower. Breath in, raise the left hand. Breath out, lower. 5 on each side, 10 in total. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. 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 2 more on each side. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. Keeping that back nice and strong and straight. Breath in, lower. Lift. Breath out, lower. 1 more on each side. Breath in, lift the right hand. Breath out, lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. Give those legs a paddle, a roll of the shoulders. Walk those weights towards the front of the mat to wherever they reach. Take a long breath in. Long breath out, forward fold over those legs. Your next breath in, raise those weights all the way back up towards the ceiling, using that back strength to lift the torso. Then bring the arms to shoulder height, slowly lower back towards the floor, using the long limbs, the weights, the core strength to control it as you slowly bring yourself down towards the mat. And when you get to the floor, bring yourself onto your side. So knees 90 degree angle to the hips, ankles 90 degree angle to the knees. Hands stacked, elbows stacked, shoulders stacked. And we're going to take some thoracic extension, but using those weights. So we have to control with our muscles as we lift and lower. So take a breath in, raise the right hand up towards the ceiling.
And on your out breath, lower that weight back towards that right side of the mat. Breath in, raise that weight back to the ceiling. Breath out, lower that weight back to the left hand. Take it with control. Breath in, raise that hand to the ceiling. Breath out, lower that weight towards the right side of the mat. Breath in, raise, knees and ankles stay stacked. Breath out, bring that weight back to the floor. Breath in, raise. Breath out, release to the floor. Breath in, raise. Breath out, release. One more time. Breath in, raise to the ceiling. Breath out, lower the hand to the floor. Breath in, raise. Breath out and lower. So taking that on the other side, so we roll ourselves over onto our right hip, right shoulder. Knees stack, feet stack, take those 90-degree angles. Bring those arms out in front of you. So the left hand is stacked on top of the right, right shoulder underneath the left. Breath in, lift that left hand to the ceiling. Breath out, lower that left hand down to the left side of the mat. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. We'll do 4 more of these. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out, back to the hand. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out and lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out, back to the hand. One more. Breath in, lift that weight. Breath out, lower. Breath in, lift. Breath out and lower. So bringing yourself then back onto your backs. Make sure you've got plenty of space behind the head. Hands come down by the side, still holding the weights in the hand. So take a breath in, raise the hands up towards the ceiling. Breath out, lower the weights towards the back of the mat. Breath in, raise them to the ceiling. Breath out, lower them back to the floor by the hips. Breath in, raise them to the ceiling. Breath out and lower. Breath in, lift. Keep that lower spine pushed into the floor. Breath out and lower. One more. Breath in, raise them to the ceiling. Breath out, lower them to the back of the mat. Breath in, lift to the ceiling. Breath out to the floor. Bring those weights back on to that belly and just hold them on the belly. Bring your right ankle onto the top of that left thigh and turn that right knee out to the side. We're going to lift and lower with a one leg push with an external rotation of that right hip. Try and keep the hips in line as you lift. Push into that left foot, slowly curl those hips up towards the ceiling, elbows stay away. Breath out and lower those hips back to the floor. 4 more of these. Breath in, lift. Remember, we've added weight to the pelvis with the weights. Breath out and lower. If it's not comfortable with the weights there, remove them. Breath in, lift. Squeezing that left bum cheek as much as you can. Breath out, lower. 2 more on this side. Breath in, lift. Breath out, lower. 1 more. Breath in, lift. And breath out, lower. Same on the other side, this time using the strength of the right leg to lift. Left ankle onto the top of the right thigh. Push into that right foot, breathe in, lift. Breathe out, lower. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, lower. 3 more. Breathe in, lift. Keep pushing into that right foot, squeezing that right bum cheek. Breathe out, lower. 2 more. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, lower. 1 more. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out and lower. Release those weights to the sides of the mat. Bring the knees in towards you into the chest. Squeeze those knees as tight as you can, feeling that compression through the hips. Try and keep the lower spine on the floor, the shoulders plugged into the floor as well. Squeeze those knees a little tighter. And then just release the knees. Bring your right knee over your left knee. Arms out to a T shape and let the knees drop over to that left side of the mat. Maybe bring that left hand onto the top of that right knee to encourage those knees a little further towards the floor, getting a little rotation from those back bends, those forward folds. If the knees cross doesn't feel comfortable, just uncross those knees. Try to keep that right shoulder down as much as you can. And bring that left arm back to a T shape. Bring the knees back into the centre. Swap the knee cross, bring the left over the right. Bring the knees over to the right side. And then maybe use that right hand on the top of that left knee to encourage them a little closer towards the floor. Trying to keep that left shoulder as close to the mat as you can. Maybe gazing towards that left hand. Bring those knees then back into the centre. Bring those feet back to the floor. Keep the soles of the feet together. As you drop those knees out, just find butterfly legs for a couple of breaths. Just rocking that body a little bit from side to side, massaging that spine, thanking it for its practice. And then bringing those knees to stillness. Choice to either stay here or bring those legs out long to the ends of the mat. The hands down by the sides of the mat, palms facing up, fingers gently curled. Take a little turn of the head in one direction, bring it back through centre, take it over to the other side. Back into the middle, push into the heels if the legs are long. Tuck the tailbone under, bring that lower spine back to the floor, taking that arch that's deep out of that lower back. Close the eyes. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth and those lips gently part. Take a long, deep breath in. And a long sigh out through the mouth. Feeling that ground supporting the body. Noticing the clothes that are touching the skin, the parts of the body that are touching the floor. Noticing the sensations of smells in the room. Any sounds that you can hear on the inside, any sounds that you can hear on the outside. Being aware of the taste on the tongue, that sensation of maybe a breeze going over the body. Maybe the sensation of warmth to the skin. Maybe a little stickiness from the practice. Just noticing all those sensations throughout the body. If the eyes are closed, maybe noticing any colours, any shapes that are moving on the back of the eyelids. Being totally mindful of how your body is laid here on the floor in this room. Being a witness of all those sensations, not judging them, just noticing. How does your body feel now from the beginning of practice? Allow this time just to consolidate how everything feels. Feel free to pause me now if you wish to stay in relaxation for longer. If you're coming with me, maybe start to wriggle those fingers and toes. Maybe bring some movements into the ankles and the wrists. If you want to take a full body stretch, bring those hands up and over the head, stretching through the fingers, stretching through the toes, maybe having a little arch into that back. And then bringing the hands up and over, bringing the knees in towards you, giving the knees a hug into those bodies. Maybe having a little rock of that body from side to side, just massaging that spine, thanking it for practice. And then rolling over onto one side, make a pillow with the hands, take a couple of easy long breaths in through the nose, long sigh out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, slowly making your way into a seated position. Easy seated, either cross-legged or on the knees, or legs out in front. Placing the hands on top of the shins, take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Bring the hands up and over the head, bring the palms together at the top. Then bring the hands down by the chest, soft gaze down towards the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.